Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So before I begin, let me start by saying I thought long and hard about whether or not I even wanted to make this video. But after mulling over the events that transpired and seeing how things has taken place, I felt like this might be a situation where being silent might be part of the problem. And I want to preference what I'm referring to with me watching and seeing this event play out and seeing our teachers, particularly Ustad Anwar Wright and the rest of the individuals that was used as proxies in this event. So what I wanted to share was some of the things that we learned from our teachers, and we learned this from them connecting us to the scholars, and that is that we do not defend ourselves. We only defend the Sunnah. So when watching this event play out and seeing the brother being basically oppressed, as we will highlight and mention, and seeing how they stuck to this principle, to me this was impressive and something I think that should be noted. I know that it's not something that they would note, but for us as students trying to learn the Sunnah and taking some examples from our teachers, we see this as something that is taught. So I want to make it clear that even me saying this is staying in line from the principles, because I'm not saying this in defense of Anwar Wright or of any other individual that may have been oppressed. What I'm bringing to highlight is how unjust the entire situation was and used to be an attack on the da'wah to Salafiyya. Because there are things that, wasn't known because of the silence that was the only response from the individuals involved. So while all of these videos were being circulated and people making comments about, particularly Anwar Wright and what he did and what he didn't do, and particularly why he didn't say anything in response. So with me, what I understand and know is I understand why certain things happen. And I feel like, so should everybody else know, only because I see the attempts that the people of innovation, the people of desires have used to take this event and to use it to attack the character of the brother in particular, but more importantly, the da'wah to Salafiyya as a whole. For one, the one thing that I wanted to mention, because it was the question I had that when this event took place, everybody know about it. One of the biggest questions was why was there no response? The other question that we've seen a lot of people throw and ask was, why would the brother say, may Allah give you what you deserve? So I'm going to answer those questions because I asked those questions because I wanted to understand. And once I knew the questions, I understood why they were silent. For one, I'm going to mention the comment, may Allah give you what you deserve. Because this is something that was achieved and represented to the Muslim community as a lie, as a deceit. What most people don't know is that the video is chopped, and that there was a portion of the video in which Muhammad was talking to law enforcement and telling law enforcement that it was Anwar Wright. So this part of the video was cut out. Why? Because the attempt, they're showing the willingness not even to be just, to create a narrative. So when Anwar Wright responded, may Allah give you what you deserve, this was a response that he stated to him after seeing him inform the detectives and tell the detectives his name, who he is, and as being a part of the individual who assaulted him. So the biggest question would be is, why would this part of the tape be cut out? If you're going to put out a tape in order to draw a narrative, at least show the whole narrative. Why? Because the attempt was to attack the character of the brother and oppress the brother, because we know that from our teachers that we don't defend ourselves. This is not a defense particularly of Anwar Wright personally. This is the exposing the tactics of the opponents of the dawah, to show the lengths that they would go to in order to try to mislead the people, even presenting lies, and then making up, Photoshop videos to support their narrative, not understanding that when this incident took place, Anwar Wright, who was free from having anything to do with it, he remained silent because he called the police. And whatever the case may have been, regardless of who's right, who's wrong, at the time, there wasn't no time to respond, especially when he was the one being falsely accused. So when I understood this, I understood the reason why, and a lot of the people had the question and wondering why and saying, well, it wasn't a response. Why is there being no silence? You're supposed to be silent in a situation like that. But I only decided to share this information because I'm sure that there's probably no one else who will. But I think that it needs to be known because this was an injustice. A videotape that was doctored and put out in order to support a narrative in which to try to turn the people away from the people of the Sunnah. If they were, if they were sincere, they would have at least not chopped the cheek. So when we see stuff like this, man, and we know that our teachers, and this is another thing that we see that I wanted to mention, because everyone talks about, with the attack, what happened. One thing we'll see when our teacher, Ustad Anwar Wright, was attacked in a particular masjid that we won't name, you didn't see no social media posted with that because we didn't, it was no point. He didn't seek to expose the brother or make the affair public knowledge when he was attacked. When he was attacked in the masjid physically. But then you think, and then the people would go so far as to assume and then just say that he would be responsible for such. And that's just not fair. I think that as Muslims, right or wrong, enemies or not, we deserve to be just with our enemies. We don't lie, we don't slander in order to prove a point. And this is the case of what happened. So I just wanted to share because I felt like being silent in this case was being part of the problem. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me if I said anything wrong.